This is your evening news update for Wednesday, May 5. So glad you could join us. A man remains in police custody after injuring at least 10 people in multiple incidents this morning. Police report that around 10:15, they received reports that a man who was acting strangely had assaulted an individual while at a business at Worthing Christchurch. Subsequently, they received several other reports of more persons being assaulted by a man with the same description. Police said the injured include 6 visitors and 4 locals. Police said the suspect used scissors in some cases, and others, the victims, were cuffed. 6 people were treated at the respective scenes by paramedics and discharged at noontime. 4 were still being seen at the QEH. Their injuries have been described by medical personnel as non-life-threatening. When Barbados Today visited the area, one eyewitness recounted what he saw.
I was coming to work as normal. I saw a guy to the bottom of the gap, stooping down next to his bicycle, so I thought he had fallen down. But not until I got to work, I see some fellas here at my workplace running around looking for a guy that just stabbed and robbed somebody. So there was a big commotion out here. They ran through the property. It was like a bit chaotic for everybody because a lot of people come up because it's not a usual thing you really see around here on a normal day. So it was just like a frantic scene of everybody getting on.
Anyone who might have been injured or witnessed the incidents should contact the Hastings Worthing Police Station at 430-7614 or 430-7615. Former Barbadian League employees today received a lifeline from the Mottley administration after being sent home some 400 days ago without a cent in severance. This follows talks this afternoon between Prime Minister Mottley and a large number of the ex-workers. The workers are expected to start receiving a one-off gift of $2,000 by next week. The statement issued this afternoon by the Prime Minister's Press Secretary Roy Morris said the gift will give authorities time to put other measures in place that will offer further relief over a much longer period. In addition, the workers who were paying into the Antigua and Barbuda Social Security Scheme and are entitled to severance under that country's laws will also be given a loan by the Barbados government that spreads out over a year. Morris said they will receive an advance of $2,000 per month from the government of Barbados. The sum must, however, be paid back from any eventual severance settlement. Barbados recorded 31 new COVID-19 cases from 650 tests conducted on Tuesday. These include 1 female and 30 males, including 24 males of the psychiatric hospital. These 24 cases reflect the retesting of staff and clients of the ward who were placed in quarantine after a known male outpatient of the ward tested positive on April 28. The quarantine staff have all tested negative and have been cleared to resume their work duties. The 24 clients will be isolated and managed on site. Testing on the wider staff and client population continues at the facility. Of the 7 additional positive cases, 1 individual exhibited respiratory symptoms and presented to the Wilde Gymnasium for testing. 3 persons were discovered through community contact tracing, and the additional 3 cases were visitors to the island. All positive cases have been placed in isolation. In other news, face-to-face classes will resume at the Blackman Gollop Primary School tomorrow, following an intense day of cleaning. Personnel from the Barbados Defence Force, a private contractor, teachers and parents teamed up to ensure classes were set up and ready. Earlier today, Minister of Education Cynthia Bradshaw says the situation has been a challenge, but she rejected the notion that her ministry was not prepared.
We were prepared in the sense that many of the schools had been cleaned. Some of them were also still getting the final touches being done to them. But I also indicated to the country that the reality is that just as we have in our households where dust keeps coming back into the home environment, that we were going to experience similar things in relation to the school environment as well. So we've had some challenges where windows may not have been properly sealed. As a consequence, even though the rooms were clean, we ended up with situations where the dust came back into the classroom. And so some of those things are unavoidable.
She added that the ministry will have to hire additional personnel to ensure schools remain clean.
Especially for those schools where we have debris blocks or where we have areas that are prone and more susceptible than others to the flow of dust coming from the outside. So schools that are on our main roads, as you could appreciate, those are going to continue to have to get continued cleaning to be able to reduce the flow of the dust coming into the school.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To regional news, in Jamaica, government and the opposition are not seeing eye to eye on new measures to restrict movement to combat the spread of COVID-19. More in this report from Television Jamaica.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness pointed out that the curfews on Saturdays will now begin at 6 p.m., providing 2 more hours for people to carry out their business.
The weekend curfews, Madam Speaker, for the next 4 weeks, the next 4 weekends, the weekend curfew will start at 6 p.m. on a Saturday and end 5 a.m. on the following Sunday. It will begin again at 2 p.m. on the Sunday and end on 5 a.m. on the following Monday. And this will go on for the next 4 weekends.
But opposition leader Mark Golding believes that the additional time is still inadequate.
Some restriction of movement is prudent, but the thinking behind it is less compelling, I think, especially when you're talking about restrictions on movement which are, for example, on a weekend, 6 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and on an everyday basis.
The opposition leader says this is a challenge for most Jamaicans, especially those living in inner-city communities.
On the international front, the U.S. has thrown its support behind an initiative at the World Trade Organization to waive intellectual property protections for coronavirus vaccines.
Rich nations like the U.S. have faced pressure to do this for a while now, and so today the Biden administration relented to the pleas coming from more than 100 other countries, saying it supports a World Trade Organization effort to waive these patent protections on COVID vaccines. Now, the goal here is to allow nations to produce more vaccine using the formulas and manufacturing techniques that have already been developed by pharmaceutical companies. The U.S. Trade Representative says that the extraordinary circumstances of the pandemic call for such extraordinary measures. Now, Canada has previously been accused of being too slow to act on this issue. Today, Trade Minister Mary Ng tweeted that Canada actively supports the WTO efforts to accelerate global vaccine production and distribution.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.